Hello and welcome back to the Fantasy Playmakers. What's up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going through an injury report talking about all the fantasy relevant players. So I'm going to be going through players who are good to go for Sunday and Monday, players who are questionable, and then some guys who have already been ruled out. While you guys are watching this, if you're enjoying the content or you find it helpful and informative, please just do me a huge favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. You guys can ask me start sits, trade advice, waiver wire advice, anything, just drop it down below. I'll be responding to every single person. But let's start off with the players who are going to be good to go for Sunday or Monday. And it's going to be Dalvin Cook here starting it off. He has been dealing with an ankle injury the last few weeks. He's missed 2 games. He was limited in another. So it's good to see that Dalvin Cook is going to be the starter. He's a lock in your lineup this week for sure. And that just basically takes away all of Alexander Madison's value. Then we have Sterling Shepard, who is finally making his return from this hamstring injury. It kind of seems like people have forgotten Sterling Shepard was the clear-cut number 1 on this team in weeks 1 and 2. He was a target monster before he went down with injury. So he's someone I'm definitely interested to see if he can step back in to that wide receiver 1 role. I know Kadarius Toney has kind of broken out and emerged as another top weapon here, but another one of his wide receiver teammates is out. We'll get into that later. But before that, we have Rashad Bateman here, who is finally making his NFL debut. He's been on the IR with a groin injury. He is finally back. I've loved Rashad Bateman as a prospect for the last few years, so I'm really excited to watch him go out and play. Coming into the season, I thought he had a great shot to challenge Marquise Brown for the number 1 wide receiver role. I don't know if that's going to happen. Marquise Brown has looked great, but it's still going to be nice to see Bateman out there on the field. And this is a great thing for Lamar Jackson this season and just for the future. Having a top wide receiver with you, that's going to be great for Lamar. And then the last player here who is good to go is Julio Jones. He's been dealing with a hamstring injury. He has missed a few games, but it looks like he is going to be back playing on Monday Night Football. We don't know if he's going to be on a snap count. We saw A.J. Brown, who made his return from the same injury last week. He was on a snap count, so maybe they're a little bit conservative here with Julio. We'll just have to wait and see. We'll probably find out more tomorrow or Sunday. But now we're going to move on to the players who are questionable for Sunday and Monday. And we're going to start it off here with Joe Mixon. He is dealing with an ankle injury. I would be very surprised if he did not play because we saw him go in week 5. He was splitting touches with Samaje Perine, but I think he regains that workhorse role this week because Perine is currently on the COVID reserve list, which means it's very unlikely that he is going to go. So hopefully for Joe Mixon owners, I know I have a lot of shares of him. He is back being the alpha in that offense. Then we have this trio of Lions weapons, DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, and TJ Hockenson. I believe all 3 of these guys were on the injury report together last week. Swift with a groin, Williams with a hip, and Hockenson with a knee. I expect all those guys to go. Allen Robinson is dealing with an ankle injury. I think he should be good to go on Sunday against the Packers, but personally, I do not trust him in my lineup as well, so hopefully you're not really relying on him to be a huge impact player. Sticking with the Bears, Damian Williams is on the COVID reserve list, which means since David Montgomery is out, he's been on IR. Khalil Herbert is now going to be the starter. If you can pick him up, 100% do it. You're going to get the RB1 for the Bears. He actually out-carried Damian Williams in week 5, so we know they like him. And if he can now get that receiving work, the Bears have not been a super pass-heavy team. He could provide immediate impact for your fantasy rosters. Then Tyreek Hill is going to be dealing with a quad. Apparently, he's going to be limited in the game, which is always just super tough for fantasy because you never want a guy who's playing like 50, 60% of the snaps. But I mean, it's Tyreek Hill, so how do you take him out of your lineup? Tyreek Hill could play 50% of the snaps and still put up a monster performance. I mean, that's basically what Antonio Brown has been doing all season. So I still feel like you got to start him unless your wide receivers are just absolutely stacked. On the other side of that game, we have Antonio Gibson, who is dealing with a shin injury. He should be good to go. He was dealing with this stress fracture last week and still played and played well. McLaurin showed up on the injury report on Friday with a hamstring injury. Supposedly, it was just precautionary, so he should be good to go as well. Earlier, I talked about how Sterling Shepard was returning. 2 of his other wide receivers are questionable right now. Kadarius Toney with an ankle and Darius Slayton with a hamstring. For Toney, I'd be expecting him to play this week. Slayton, I feel like it's up in the air. He has missed the last few weeks along with Sterling Shepard, so I would feel more confident with Toney coming back than with Slayton. Mike Williams is dealing with a knee injury. The Chargers head coach came out and said he hopes he can kind of play through it, play with that injury. If he's good to go, he should be in your starting lineups. If not, that's probably even a bigger boost to Keenan Allen and probably Austin Eckler. I don't really trust any of those wide receivers behind Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. Chase Edmonds is dealing with that same shoulder injury he had last week. Hopefully it's a little bit better because he definitely struggled in week 5. And I do believe Kyler Murray is also dealing with a shoulder injury, and it doesn't seem to be super serious, but this is definitely something that can affect Kyler Murray's fantasy production and the rest of these weapons. If you remember last season, Kyler Murray to start off the season was absolutely tearing it up. He was on an insane pace. I mean, he was lined up to beat Lamar Jackson's points per game record back in 2020. Then he suffers a shoulder injury. Still, played well, but just not up to the same standard he was at before. So hopefully Kyler Murray is ready to go as well. I think he's going to play, but hopefully he's pretty close to 100%. Kareem Hunt right now is dealing with a wrist and a knee injury. We're going to get into Nick Chubb later, but he is out. So we're really hoping that Kareem Hunt can go, because if he is the number one guy there, he is going to absolutely feast. Another one of these high-profile running backs, Ezekiel Elliott, he is dealing with a rib issue. I think he should be good to go come Sunday. Damian Williams is also dealing with a rib injury. We've seen some other running backs deal with this same thing, and there have been situations where these guys missed at least a week. He's going to be questionable, so it's really just up in the air right now. And then the last player who is questionable is Melvin Gordon with a hip. So far, he's been in a dead-even split with Javonte Williams. Maybe this kind of opens the door for Javonte Williams to take a few more touches. We really just have to wait and see. But overall, in that backfield, I do think that Javonte Williams is going to start to eat into that work week by week. But now we are going to move on to the players who have already been listed as out. And the first one here was definitely disappointing because I thought Christian McCaffrey actually had a decent shot to play this week. It looked like it was kind of close going into week 5, so I figured he would be ready week 6. He is not ready. He is going to be out with that same hamstring injury. I feel like week 7 has got to be the week that he makes his return. So once again, Chuba Hubbard, a lock in your lineup if you have him. Devontae Parker is going to be missing a second week here with a shoulder and a hamstring injury. This would kind of be the spot to say Jalen Waddle, maybe a potential play here. I kind of thought that last week. Then he goes out and does nothing against the Bucs. So I would kind of just want to avoid this Miami Dolphins offense altogether, to be honest. It looks like Tua is going to be back. Didn't really mention him and the players who are good to go, but he should be the starting quarterback. That kind of hurts Gesicki's value. What does that really do to this offense as a whole? We really just have to wait and see. For the Chiefs, most people know this, but CEH was placed on injured reserve with that knee injury, which makes Darrell Williams a solid start as the RB1. Saquon Barkley is also going to be out this week with that rough ankle injury, which means Devontae Booker is a solid start. He basically took over the exact same workload that Saquon would have had. Kenny Golladay on the Giants has been ruled out with a knee injury. So basically in this video, I've talked about the Giants' top 4 wide receivers. Sterling Shepard's healthy. Kenny Golladay is out. Slayton and Toney are both questionable. So that could still kind of swing around by Sunday. Sammy Watkins for the Ravens is out with a thigh injury. Hopefully that means we get to see Rashad Bateman even more. He can step into a bigger role right away. I mentioned this earlier, but Nick Chubb out with a calf. That's huge for Kareem Hunt. Huge opportunity for him to ball out as the number 1. And then we're here with the Seahawks, and this is just rough for both these guys. Chris Carson just placed on injured reserve with that neck injury. This whole thing has been pretty weird because dating back to last Thursday night football game, it seemed like he was basically a game time decision, so he was out. Personally, I thought, okay, he was game time decision. He should be ready to go next Sunday. Apparently that is not the case. It has not improved, and he is being placed on IR. So if you can pick up Alex Collins, I know right when I got that notification, I picked up Collins in at least 2 or 3 leagues. They're 10-team leagues, so he had probably been dropped after week 5. But if you can still get him, I would snag him because you're going to be getting the RB1 on a team. This offense may not be as top tier as it would be with Russell Wilson, who also was placed on the IR with that finger injury. So 2 crucial pieces of that Seahawks offense are currently on the IR. And then the last player here, Juju Smith-Schuster, is out for the season with a shoulder injury. I know this is really tough for Juju. He came back on less money. The whole thing for him is just not good. But from a fantasy football perspective, this is really solid for Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool. They are going to be target funnels in this offense along with Najee Harris. And I think all 3 of those guys are going to feast. But that is going to wrap it up for this video. If you guys enjoyed the content, please hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. But thank you guys for stopping by, and I'll see you next time.